In this video, we're going to follow the directions and basically give you a demonstration of how you're going to complete your periodic table in this next activity or lab known as getting to know the periodic table. And so you have 4 pages here. The first 3 are the directions and the last one is your actual periodic table. Now, it's not made perfect, but it's made well enough that you can actually get in and you can click and you can actually edit every single box, which is what our goal is. And so we can go through just to show you a couple things. Number 1, place the atomic number for each element in the box. Now you do need to make sure that you understand that the elements don't all go in order. They do for the most part. So for example, I have 1, then I have 2, then I have 3, and then 4, and 5, 6, 7, 8, so on and so forth. And so what we need to do after each one, what we need to actually make sure is we're looking at a real periodic table. So if you use your own periodic table that I've given you the physical copy of, or if you need to find it online, notice this is an older version. There's things missing and there's 3 letters. So this is a very old periodic table. So you want to make sure that you have a newer periodic table that's more up to date, or you can look online for some of the extra elements that have recently been named since the version that we're using. And so when we go through, the first direction, of course, is just adding the number. Notice it says then press return, which will give you to the next space, or will bring it to the next space. Excuse me. If we go back down here, after number 1, I want to click return after the 3. So I'm going to do my number and then return, number, return, number, return. So for example, when we go in there, I'm just going to press the number 5 and then I'm going to do return, just so that brings me down, because when I start filling in my elements, for example, H, or number 3 is Li, lithium, I want to make sure that I have them in the correct spacing. And let's see, one of the examples we're going to use, I believe, for one of the next symbols or next ideas is for number 2. It says type the letters of all the gases as red. So I already wrote hydrogen, and what we're also going to look at is radon. And so if we go on the chart and if we notice radon is over here in the corner, not counting the top one, but we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows down. It's element number 86. So if we go again, not counting the top, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down, I'm going to click in that box. I'm going to give it a number. That's number 86. And then I have capital R, lowercase n. One of the things we need to remember is that the first letter is always capitalized. Second letter is always lowercase. Do not use 2 capital letters, because what that means is really that there's a designation of 2 different elements. So make sure you're recognizing that. So whether it's hydrogen or radon, what I need to do, I need to highlight that element. And notice if I just go and highlight over it, it turns blue. And what I could do is then use the icon for text color. We're going to change that to red. So now I have a red H there. I'm going to do the same thing for radon, and I'm going to turn it red. So now I'm going to see some designation. We're going to see some that are dark or black. We're going to see some that are red. And so for all of the actual gases, the gases are all going to be red. All of the other elements, or a majority of the other elements on the periodic table, are going to be black, so you won't have to make any changes, but you will have to do the ones for the gases. When we get to direction number 4, you're going to find that there are 5 elements that may exist at certain conditions that are that are liquids instead. The one most common that you should be familiar with is Hg, which is mercury. But there's a couple others that are either not really in large quantity, or basically they would still be in liquid if they had a sample of them at room temperature or normal temperatures. The next one is going to be bold. And so we're basically going to thicken the color or the lettering itself. And so we have some here that not only are bold, but we'll also see appear as radioactive. So if we look at this little group here, for example, PM, NP, PU, there's my PM again, there's U, and there's NP. We have some things that are doubled up. And so they may be radioactive, but they also may be man-made. So the man-made ones we're going to do as bolds. I'm going to show you how to do that. So for example, if we just look at plutonium, Pu, that's down here at the bottom, the very last row. Now, there's a break, and I was talking about the numerical order of the periodic table. It just doesn't go in order. It does basically left to right, like you're reading, up into this point right here. Notice it jumps from 57 to 72, and then here it jumps from 89 to 104. Notice there's a part or section here that's been pulled out. So 57 and then 58 all the way to 71 is here, and then 72 picks back up. And then 89, there's 90 all the way to 103, and then 104 picks back up. So if we use, for example, PU 94, so it's the fifth box over. So if we go over here into the diagram and we're the fifth box over at the bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we said it's element 94 and it's symbol PU. So there's a couple things I have to do here. Because I said it was radioactive, or excuse me, man-made first. The first direction was man-made. So again, we're at this direction right here. Type the symbol of those man-made as bold. So if I go back here and if I do the man-made one, I'm going to come up to this icon with the capital B. That makes it bold. So it sticks out a little more than some of the other letters. The other direction that we need to follow for those that are appearing in this number 6 part is we're going to change the border. We're going to change it to dark green. So we want to change the border's weight and the color. So there's two different icons we need to use for this. And so we're going to use that same element because, again, element PU is here and it is also listed right here. So you will see some repeats or some overlap in those elements that you're using. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to click anywhere in the box. If I want to change the whole border, I can just click anywhere in the box. It doesn't matter where I click. I just have to be inside the box. And then I can come up here and change the border weight. And we want to change the border weight to 8 so it sticks out. And then we're going to change the border color, which is this little pen next to it. And we're going to change it to dark green. Once we've changed the dark green, if we click out of there, now again, it's going to pop out. So we're going to see different things that appear as we go through. So some of them will have a bold and they will have the dark green, just because, again, some are radioactive, some are man-made. But notice there's a lot more here that are radioactive that aren't man-made. So we're not going to see as many bold, but we'll see a lot more that have the doubled or heavy boxes around it. One of the other things we're going to do is we're going to designate the heavy black line that separates the metals and the non-metals. We call this the stairway. And we see this over here in the top right corner. This is where a majority of my non-metals exist, and then my metals are basically everything else. And there's something that borders called the semi-metals, and we'll talk about that more in class. But if notice, it's a border that's a little bit thicker. It's not a full box, it's only on the edge. And so in order to do that, instead of just clicking anywhere, like I said, if I clicked anywhere in the box, I would highlight the whole box. And so if I change my border to 8, the whole box happens, but I don't want that. So anytime you make a mistake or if you want to fix something, all you have to do is use your back arrows or your forward arrows. So if I want to get rid of that, I just click my back arrow and it's gone. If I say, okay, maybe I did want that, I could click the other way, the forward arrow, and it's back. But we don't want that. If I want to follow a stairwell or only do one line of the border, all I have to do is hover over the actual line, and it looks like two vertical lines are like overlapping that. If I come down here, it looks like two horizontal lines are like basically aligned with that line. So if I just click the line itself, it actually turns the line and highlights the line blue. Now I can go over here and change my border weight to 8. And I could do the same thing. I could click on here and I could go through and change it to 8. If I just click on it, turn it blue, and then go to the next one, it hasn't changed it yet. You actually have to tell it to change it. So you could actually start to build this as you go through, all right? In the last direction, okay, so that's direction number 7. The last direction is making a key for the special groups that we will learn about as we go through. And so one of the ones that we've talked about here, or I mentioned in this section, is the noble gases. And the noble gases is this last group where radon exists. And all you have to do is click anywhere in the first box and then drag down. Once you've dragged down, we're going to be very similar to what we've done with some of the other ones, but we're just going to pick, in this case, we're going to pick the fill icon and we're going to fill it with yellow. And what that will do is make all of the background yellow. So you're going to end up with a color-coded periodic table. We're going to see some different colors in the letters representing gases for red. Black is solid, blue is going to be the liquids, bold is going to be man-made, green boxes around are going to be the radioactive ones. And then you're going to see different colors that are the names of the specific groups or the families that exist in the periodic table. And we're going to have our separation between metals and nonmetals. So this is, again, your ability to get to know the periodic table a little bit better. So hopefully you found benefit out of this. You're able to go through and create the periodic table. It should be pretty straightforward, and I look forward to seeing your results.